Bulgaria is a country situated in southeastern Europe, bordering Romania, Serbia, the Republic of Macedonia, Greece, Turkey and the Black Sea. Its northern border with Romania follows the Danube River until Silistra. The land area of Bulgaria is 110,550 square kilometers, slightly larger than that of Iceland or the U.S. state of Tennessee. The country is situated on the west coast of the Black Sea, with Romania to the north, Greece and Turkey to the south, and Serbia and Macedonia to the west. Considering its small size, Bulgaria has a great variety of topographical features. Even within small parts of the country, the land may be divided into plains, plateaus, hills, mountains, basins, gorges, and deep river valleys. The geographic center of Bulgaria is located in Uzana. Bulgaria features notable diversity, with the landscape ranging from the alpine snow-capped peaks in Rila, Pirene and the Balkan Mountains to the mild and sunny Black Sea coast, from the typically continental Danubian plain in the north to the strong Mediterranean climatic influence in the valleys of Macedonia and in the lowlands in the southernmost parts of Thrace. Phytogeographically, Bulgaria straddles the Illyrian and Exinian provinces of the circumboreal region within the Boreal Kingdom. According to the WWF and to the European Environment Agency digital map of European ecological regions, the territory of Bulgaria subdivides into two main ecoregions: the Balkan mixed forests and Rhodope-Montane mixed forests. Small parts of four other ecoregions also occur on Bulgarian territory. Boundaries. Although external historical events often changed Bulgaria's national boundaries in its first century of existence, natural terrain features defined most boundaries after 1944, and no significant group of people suffered serious economic hardship because of border delineation. Post-war Bulgaria contained a large percentage of the ethnic Bulgarian people. Although numerous migrations into and out of Bulgaria occurred at various times, none of the country's borders was officially disputed in 1991. Although nationalist Bulgarians continue to claim that Bulgaria's share of Macedonia, which it shares with both Republic of Macedonia and Greece, is less than just because of the ethnic connection between Macedonians and Bulgarians. Bulgaria has a total border of about 2,264 kilometers. Rivers account for about 680 kilometers and the Black Sea coast for 400 kilometers. The southern and western borders are mainly defined by ridges in high terrain. The western and northern boundaries are shared with Serbia and Romania, respectively, and the Black Sea coastline constitutes the entire eastern border. The Romanian border follows the Danube for 464 kilometers from the northwestern corner of the country to the city of Silistra and then cuts to the east-southeast for 136 kilometers. The Danube, with steep bluffs on the Bulgarian side and a wide area of swamps and marshes on the Romanian side, is one of the most effective river boundaries in Europe. The line through Dobruja is arbitrary and was redrawn several times according to international treaties. In that process, most inhabitants with strong national preferences resettled in the country of their choice. Borders to the south are with Greece and Turkey, the border with Greece being 491 kilometers long, and the Turkish border having a length of 240 kilometers. Topography. The relief of Bulgaria is varied. In the relatively small territory of the country there are extensive lowlands, plains, hills, low and high mountains, many valleys and deep gorges. The main characteristic of Bulgaria's topography is alternating bands of high and low terrain that extend east to west across the country. From north to south, those bands are the Danubian Plain, Stara Planina, the Transitional Region and the Rilo-Rhodope Massif. The easternmost sections near the Black Sea are hilly, but they gradually gain height to the west until the westernmost part of the country is entirely high ground. table showing the distribution of the height zones in Bulgaria. More than two-thirds of the country is plains, plateaus, or hilly land at an altitude less than 600 meters. Plains make up 31% of the land, plateaus and hills 41%, low mountains 10%, medium-sized mountains 10%, and high mountains 3%. The average altitude in Bulgaria is 470 meters. The contemporary relief of the country is a result of continuous geological evolution. Due to that evolution, there are magmatic, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks of different origin, age and composition. Their formation began more than 500 million years ago during the Precambrian and continues till now. The Bulgarian lands were often submerged by ancient seas and lakes. Some land layers rose, others sank. Volcanic eruptions were common both on land and in the water basins. Danubian Plain. The Danubian Plain extends from the western borders to the Black Sea. It encompasses the area between the Danube River, which forms most of the country's northern border, and Stara Planina to the south. It covers the Mosaian Plate. As a result of the rock weathering processes, the relief is uneven with flat rising grounds along the valleys and plateaus to the east. The plateau slopes gently from cliffs along the river, then it abuts into the low northern mountains of the Balkan Range. The highest point is Tarnovdile in the Shumen Plateau. The valleys of Via and Yantra divide the Danubian Plain into three parts: western, central and eastern. The altitude rises from west to east. To the north, the plain has steep shores along the Danube or forms fertile alluvial plains. Hilly heights and plateaus are typical for the topography of plain. Most of the heights and all plateaus are situated into the eastern parts. There are 14 basalt mounds between Svistov and the village of Dragomirovo. Stara Planina. The southern Danubian plain rises gradually with the foothills of Stara Planina, a range that is a geological continuation of the Carpathian Mountains. The namesake of the Balkan Peninsula stretches from the Timok Valley in Serbia, curving southward towards the Sofia Basin and reaching east to the Black Sea. The Balkan Range is about 600 kilometers long and 30 to 50 kilometers wide, and it informally splits Bulgaria into a northern and southern halves. Stara Planina is the highest in its central parts. The altitude drops slowly to the east until it reaches the sea. For the most part, the Balkan Range defines the most important watershed in Bulgaria, with rivers drain north to the Danube or south to Maritsa and the Aegean Sea. Some smaller rivers in the east drain directly into the Black Sea. South of Stara Planina is Sredna Gora, a series of ridges about 160 kilometers long and 1,600 meters in altitude, stretching from the Sofia Basin to the east to the hills north of Nova Zagora to the west. Nested between both ranges is the Rose Valley, named after the traditionally used for perfume and liqueur local product of rose oil. Sub-Balkan valleys and Thracian plain. The southern slopes of the Balkan Mountains and the Sredna Gora give way to the Thracian plain and the Sofia Basin. Roughly triangular in shape, the Thracian plain originates at a point east of the mountains near Sofia and broadens eastward to the Black Sea. It includes the Maritsa Valley and the lowlands that extend from the river to the Black Sea. Like the Danubian Plateau, much of the Thracian plain is somewhat hilly and not a true plain. Most of its terrain is moderate enough to cultivate. The largest basin in Bulgaria is the Sofia Basin, about 24 kilometers wide and 96 kilometers long. The basin contains the capital city and the area immediately surrounding it. The route through basins and valleys from Belgrade to Istanbul via Sofia has been historically important since Roman times, determining the strategic significance of the Balkan Peninsula. Bulgaria's largest cities were founded on this route. Paradoxically, although the mountains made many Bulgarian villages and towns relatively inaccessible, Bulgaria has always been susceptible to invasion because no natural obstacle blocked the route through Sofia. Rhylo-Rhodope Massif. Relatively high mountains occupy the area between the Thracian Plain and Sofia Basin and the Greek border to the south. The western parts consist of three ranges: the Vitocha Mountains south of Sofia, the Rhylo Mountains further south, and the Pirene Mountains in the southwestern corner of the country. They are the most outstanding topographic feature of Bulgaria and of the entire Balkan Peninsula. The Rhylo range includes Mount Musala, whose 2,925-meter peak is the highest in any Balkan country. About a dozen other peaks in Rhylo are over 2,600 meters. The highest peaks are characterized by sparse bare rocks and remote lakes above the tree line. The lower peaks, however, are covered with alpine meadows that give the range an overall impression of green beauty. The Pirene range is characterized by rocky peaks and stony slopes. Its highest peak is Mount Viron, at 2,915 meters, the second highest peak in Bulgaria. Further east are the extensive Rhodope Mountains. A significant part of Bulgaria's land is prone to earthquakes. Two especially sensitive areas are the borders of the North Bulgarian swell, the center of which is in the Gorna or Yehovetse area in north-central Bulgaria, and the West Rhodopes Fault, a wide area extending through the Rhylo and northern Pirene regions to Plovdiv in south-central Bulgaria. Especially strong tremors also occur along diagonal lines running between Skopje in the Republic of Macedonia and Razgrad in northeast Bulgaria, and from Albania eastward across the southern third of Bulgaria through Plovdiv. 16 major earthquakes struck Bulgaria between 1900 and 1986, the last two in Strashitsa on the Skopje-Razgrad fault line. Together the two quakes damaged over 16,000 buildings, half of them severely. One village was almost completely leveled, others badly damaged. Many inhabitants were still living in temporary housing 4 years later. Hydrography. Bulgaria has a dense network of about 540 rivers, but with the notable exception of the Danube, most have short lengths and low water levels. Most rivers flow through mountainous areas, fewer in the Danubian plain, up of Thracian plain and especially Dobruja. Two catchment basins exist: the Black Sea and the Aegean Sea basins. The longest river located solely in Bulgarian territory, the Iska River, has a length of 368 kilometers. Other major rivers include the Struma and the Maritsa River in the south. The Balkan Mountains divide Bulgaria into two nearly equal drainage systems. The larger system drains northward to the Black Sea, mainly by way of the river Danube. This system includes the entire Danubian plateau and a stretch of land running 48 to 80 kilometers inland from the coastline. The second system drains the Thracian plain and most of the higher lands of the south and southwest to the Aegean Sea, although only the Danube is navigable. Many of the other rivers and streams in Bulgaria have a high potential for the production of hydroelectric power and are sources of irrigation water. Of the Danube's Bulgarian tributaries, all but the Iska River rise in the Balkan Mountains. The Iska flows northward to the Danube from its origin in the Rhylo Mountains, passing through Sofia's eastern suburbs and through a Balkan mountain valley. The Danube gets slightly more than 4% of its total volume from its Bulgarian tributaries. As it flows along the northern border, the Danube averages 1.6 to 2.4 kilometers in width. The river's highest water levels usually occur during dune floods. It is frozen over an average of 40 days per year. Several major rivers flow directly to the Aegean Sea. Most of these streams fall swiftly from the mountains and have cut deep, scenic gorges. Maritsa with its tributaries is by far the largest, draining all of the western Thracian plain, all of the Sredna Gora, the southern slopes of the Balkan Mountains, and the northern slopes of the eastern Rhodopes. After it leaves Bulgaria, the Maritsa forms most of the Greco-Turkish border. Struma and the Mesta are the next largest Bulgarian rivers flowing to the Aegean. Struma and Mesta reach the sea through Greece. The Rila and Pirene mountain ranges feature around 260 glacial lakes. The country also has several large lakes on the Black Sea coast and more than 2,200 decameters lakes. Many mineral springs exist, located mainly in the southwestern and central parts of the country along the faults between the mountains. The Bulgarian word for spa, transliterated as banya, appears in some of the names of more than 50 spa towns and resorts including Sapareva Banya, Hisaria, Sandanski, Banka Varshits, Pavel Banya, Devon, Velengrad and many others. Climate. Considering its small area, Bulgaria has an unusually variable and complex climate. The country lies between the strongly contrasting continental and Mediterranean climatic zones. Bulgarian mountains and valleys act as barriers or channels for air masses, causing sharp contrasts in weather over relatively short distances. The continental zone is predominant, because continental air masses flow easily into the unobstructed Danubian plain. The continental influence, stronger during the winter, produces abundant snowfalls. The Mediterranean influence increases during the second half of summer and produces hot and dry weather. The barrier effect of the Balkan Mountains is felt throughout the country. On the average, northern Bulgaria is about 1 degree cooler and receives about 192 mm more rain than lowlands of southern Bulgaria. Because the Black Sea is too small to be a primary influence over much of the country's weather, it only affects the immediate area along its coastline. The Balkan Mountains are the southern boundary of the area in which continental air masses circulate freely. The Rhodope Mountains mark the northern limits of domination by Mediterranean weather systems. The area between, which includes the northern Thracian plain, is influenced by a combination of the two systems, with the continental predominating. This combination produces a plains climate resembling that of the Corn Belt in the United States, with long summers and high humidity. The climate in this region is generally more severe than that of other parts of Europe in the same latitude. Because it is a transitional area, average temperatures and precipitation are erratic, and may vary widely from year to year. Average precipitation in Bulgaria is about 630 mm per year. Dobruja in the northeast, the Black Sea coastal area, and small part of the northern Thracian plain usually receive less than 500 mm. The remainder of the northern Thracian plain and the Danubian plateau get less than the country average. The northern Thracian plain is often subject to summer droughts. Higher elevations, which receive the most rainfall in the country, may average over 2,540 mm per year. The many valley basins scattered through the uplands have temperature inversions resulting in stagnant air. Sofia is located in such a basin, but its elevation tends to moderate summer temperature and relieve oppressive high humidity. Sofia is also sheltered from the northern European winds by the mountains that surround its trough-like basin. Temperatures in Sofia average -2 degrees Celsius in January and about 20 degrees Celsius in August. The city's rainfall is near the country average, and the overall climate is pleasant. In summer, temperatures in the southeast Bulgaria often exceed 30 degrees Celsius but remain cooler by the coast. The town of Sandanski, near Blagoevgrad, has recorded the highest known temperature, 45.0 degrees Celsius. Winters are generally cold and snowy, milder in the south regions of the country. There are periods in which the temperature remains below the zero for weeks. The average winter temperature for the northern regions is about 1 degree Celsius, at south 4 degrees Celsius. Snow blizzards occur often, most notable and severe in northern Bulgaria. On the 2nd of January 2008 in the town of Svishta, 103 centimeters of snow cover fell for less than 20 hours. Foggy conditions are frequent, especially in the Danubian plain. The fog is often freezing due to the sub-zero temperatures. The recorded absolute minimum temperature of -38.3 degrees Celsius occurred west of Sofia, near the town of Tran. The usual temperature around the Staroplania region averages 10 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius. The highest mountains, over 900 or 1,000 meters above sea level, have an alpine climate. The lowest parts of the Struma and Meriza river valleys are subjected to subtropical influence, as are the eastern Rhodope or low Rhodope mountains. The extreme southwest part of Bulgaria has one of the warmest climates in the country. The coastal climate is moderated by the Black Sea, but strong winds and violent local storms are frequent during the winter. Winters along the Danube River are bitterly cold, while sheltered low valleys opening to the south along the Greek and Turkish borders may be as mild as areas along the Mediterranean or Aegean coasts. Biodiversity. Bulgaria is located on the border between the Euro-Siberian and Mediterranean ecozones. Part of the country has remained unaffected by the Ice Age, the result of which was survived some very old relict species from the Tertiary. The interaction of different climatic, hydrological, geological and topographical conditions cause that Bulgaria has a relatively wide variety of plant and animal species. Bulgaria's biodiversity is conserved in 3 national parks, 11 nature parks and 17 biosphere reserves. Nearly 35% of its land area consists of forests, where some of the oldest trees in the world, such as Bakoshov's pine and the granite oak, grow. Its flora encompass more than 3,800 species, of which 170 are endemic and 150 are considered endangered. A checklist of larger fungi of Bulgaria reported that more than 1,500 species occur in the country. The fauna is represented by 426 species of birds, which is the second highest number of species in Europe. Over 100 mammals as brown bear, red deer, roe deer, jackals and many others. The Eurasian lynx and the eastern imperial eagle have small, but growing populations. Despite the considerable difficulties and challenges in the current transition to a market economy, concern for biodiversity conservation remains strong within the country. This is confirmed both by the national legislation and by Bulgaria's accession to international acts and initiatives in this field. In 1998, the Bulgarian government approved the National Biological Diversity Conservation Strategy, which was inspired by the Pan-European Strategy for Biological and Landscape Diversity. Bulgaria has some of the largest Natura 2000 areas in Europe, covering 33.8% of its territory.